And we begin in Angola, where President-elect João Manuel Goncalves Lourenço will be sworn in today in a ceremony in Luanda, Angola's capital. He succeeds José Eduardo dos Santos, who has been in power for 38 years.
It clearly matters a lot to you that this work should be finished.
Of course. I think in today's world there seems to be this habit of sort of unfinished business or jobs being half done, and I think this is
of members of parliament, and then the candidate of the party that wins the most votes becomes the president.
62-year-old João Lourenço promised to be the man of economic miracle, an ambitious project looking at the difficult economic and financial situation of the country.
He thought his mother's legacy would open every door. But Prince Harry just got rejected, and not by tabloids or trolls, but by an entire government. Before we dive in real quick, if you love digging deeper than the headlines, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot and keeps this channel going. Now, back to Harry. He flew into Angola with cameras ready, suited up in body armor, standing in the same places Princess Diana once walked. The message was clear. This is her son. This is her mission. Trust him. But here's the twist. That powerful image wasn't enough this time. He came not just to honor a cause, but to ask for something big, a $15 million loan for landmine clearance. That's right, a royal appeal, backed by one of the most emotional humanitarian stories of the 90s. And yet, Angola said no. Not politely, not diplomatically. According to reports, the president himself looked Harry in the eye and said, "We don't trust you as a patron." Can you imagine? A prince, standing on sacred ground, his mother's legacy echoing all around him, being told he's not credible? So what happened? Why didn't Diana's legacy carry him through? Why now? Does it feel like even good intentions are being met with skepticism?
It clearly matters a lot to you that this work should be finished.
Of course. I think in today's world there seems to be this habit of sort of unfinished business or jobs being half done, and I think this is.
And honestly, it wasn't even the rejection that made waves. It was the way they said no and what it revealed about how far Harry's public image has really slipped. Behind tightly shut doors in Luanda, Prince Harry sat across from Angola's top brass, including President João Lourenço. On paper, it was supposed to be a polite routine sit-down. A diplomatic nod, a few photos, a handshake. But less than an hour later, that room went cold. The handshakes were stiff, the smiles were forced, and the silence afterward, deafening. No public fallout, no press conference, just tension the kind that doesn't need words to make headlines. And the next day, the dam broke. Senior Angolan officials started leaking details. This wasn't just a simple funding request for a noble cause. According to insiders, the proposal was a logistical mess, complicated, vague, and designed to route millions from the Angolan government directly into a foreign foundation. No transparency, no oversight. Just trust us, they were told. But here's the thing, they didn't. Because for Angola, this wasn't just about landmines, it was about Harry. And their message was clear. If the face of the mission isn't trustworthy, the mission itself is in doubt. That sting? It goes deeper when you realize Harry's record with nonprofits hasn't exactly been spotless. Take the Invictus Games, his signature achievement. It once symbolized hope, strength, resilience. But lately, it's been under fire. Questions about funding, whispers about mismanagement, and financial reports that don't seem to add up. Despite A-list backing and all the spotlight, donor confidence has taken a hit. So when Harry walked into that room expecting faith and loyalty, what he got instead was reality.
And we begin in Angola, where President-elect João Manuel Goncalves Lourenço will be sworn in today in a ceremony in Luanda, Angola's capital. He succeeds José Eduardo dos Santos, who has been in power for 38 years.
And those concerns, they didn't stay buried in whispers. They followed Harry all the way to Luanda. During that closed-door meeting, Angolan finance officials didn't hold back. Sources say the briefing turned tense, with officials openly questioning why a private foreign-based foundation was being handed the keys to a multi-million-dollar development effort. And not just any foundation, Archwell. Yes, the same Archwell co-founded by Harry and Meghan. The same one critics say has blurred the lines between charity and personal branding since day one. Harry reportedly insisted Archwell would be the main vehicle overseeing, managing, and monitoring the entire landmine clearance operation. But here's the thing. Why Archwell? Why sideline local agencies or international NGOs with proven track records? And more importantly, why should Angola trust it? This wasn't about denying humanitarian work, it was about accountability, about control, about a government being asked to wire millions to a foundation across the ocean built on a royal brand that's been fighting for legitimacy ever since it broke from the palace. To the Angolan officials, this wasn't just risky, it was audacious.
In attendance, regional and global leaders. Some of them may include South African President Thabo Mbeki, Namibia's Age Gingub, and Cuba's Vice President Miguel Diaz-Canel, who is leading a delegation to the ceremony. Angola held its election on August.
Now, from the outside looking in, sure, it might have seemed like a bold humanitarian step, a royal lending his name to a cause that literally saves lives. On paper, that sounds visionary. But in Angola, the reality is way more complicated. This isn't just about landmines or goodwill. This is a country still untangling itself from the wreckage of colonialism and decades of corruption. Every cent of public money is watched, tracked, audited. Strict fiscal boards. International oversight. Zero room for blind trust. So when Harry came in with a proposal that essentially said, send the money to Archwell, we'll take it from here, Angolan officials were stunned. One source put it bluntly, why would we hand control of millions to a foreign, celebrity-led foundation with no formal audit agreement? It wasn't just a red flag, it was a siren. This wasn't a technical glitch. It was a fundamental breakdown in trust, and maybe a sign that Harry still doesn't quite understand how far his royal name really stretches. Or doesn't, because in a country trying to rebuild from trauma, there's no room for symbolism without substance, no matter who your mother was.
Movement of Angola, MPLA, securing the majority of the votes. The MPLA won 150 votes in parliament, while UNITA got 51, and the coalition the remaining 16 seats. Angola uses a single constituency electoral.
And here's where things got really uncomfortable. Angolan officials didn't just want to hear promises, they wanted accountability. Who would be responsible if things went wrong? If deadlines slipped? If millions vanished? When they pressed Harry for answers, real concrete answers, sources say he fell back on the usual goodwill, reputation, legacy. But in Luanda, that doesn't cut it. Legacy doesn't sign contracts, reputation doesn't pass audits, and goodwill, it's not a legal safety net when millions of dollars are on the line. That's when the tone shifted from skeptical to cold. And perhaps the most telling move came not from the government, but from the one organization you'd expect to back Harry unconditionally, the Halo Trust. They put out a statement shortly after the meeting. It was calm, neutral, professional. But more importantly, it was silent on Harry's proposal. Not a single mention. No support, no endorsement, just a carefully worded release that seemed designed to say nothing at all. That's not just a PR decision, that's distance. And when even your longtime allies won't publicly stand beside your plan, what does that really say?
Of members of parliament, and then the candidate of the party that wins the most votes becomes the president.
63-year-old João Lourenço promised to be the man of economic miracle, an ambitious project looking at the difficult economic and financial situation of the country.
The message couldn't have been clearer even without saying a word. While Harry tried to reignite his mother's legacy, Angola responded with a quiet but unmistakable rejection. Officials simply reminded the world mine-clearing efforts in their country were already being funded through trusted, established international channels, with full transparency and rigorous audits. No mention of Harry's proposal, no endorsement, just omission. And that silence, it was deafening. The Halo Trust, the same group Diana once stood beside, offered no support for Harry's financial ask. And that, right there, was the gut punch. For Prince Harry, this wasn't just a no. It was another painful reminder that past influence doesn't guarantee present credibility. There he was, Diana's son, once globally admired for following in her humanitarian footsteps, now standing alone in Luanda, asking for help that would never arrive. Yes, he invoked her image. Yes, he retraced her steps. But this time, the symbolism wasn't enough. Because while Diana's minefield walk in 1997 radiated authenticity and hope, Harry's pitch came across strategic, transactional, vague. And whether that comparison is fair or not, it was inevitable. The truth, the world's changed. Global aid isn't about emotion anymore. It's about systems, frameworks, deliverables, and most importantly, trust. And right now, that's exactly what Harry doesn't have. Worse, this happened at a moment when his royal identity is more uncertain than ever. The Queen's will is still sealed. His role in the monarchy remains unclear. And some insiders quietly wonder, is this why Harry's been bouncing from project to project, hoping something sticks? There's a growing sense that he's operating in a vacuum. No palace, no title, no structure, but still trying to wield royal influence. That duality? It's wearing thin. Governments are noticing. Charities feel it. Even loyal supporters are growing uneasy. Because this wasn't just a misstep in Angola, this was a reckoning. In the diplomatic world, rejections like this are rare. They're usually softened, spun, or buried, but Angola didn't play that game. They were blunt. They evaluated the proposal, saw the risks, and delivered a verdict. Prince Harry brings more uncertainty than confidence. That sentence alone, "We don't trust you as patron," now echoes not just in Angola, but across the global stage. And this isn't the first time. Private donors are pulling back, once reliable allies are stepping away, and now a sitting president has officially drawn the line. Even more troubling, this is becoming a pattern. In the past year, Harry has launched attempt after attempt to rebrand as a global humanitarian, but the more he pushes, the more scrutiny follows. The Invictus Games, still tangled in financial questions. His mental health partnerships, criticized for lacking substance and measurable outcomes. Even Archwell, the foundation that promised transformational change, is struggling to meet the basic standards expected from large-scale nonprofits. So Angola's rejection doesn't feel like a one-off, it feels like a tipping point. A test failed, not because the cause wasn't worthy, but because of the trust deficit surrounding the man behind it. And that's the real issue. It's not scandal, it's inconsistency. Grand, noble goals paired with fuzzy execution. Legacy invoked, but leadership still unproven. And emotionally, this one hurt. Because Harry clearly believed this could be his redemption arc, his big return to the humanitarian spotlight. He walked through the minefields, recreated the iconic photos, spoke of long-term partnerships. But here's the harsh truth. Vision without structure is just a speech. And passion without credibility doesn't get funded. Angola's rejection wasn't just about protecting their resources. It was a warning shot to the world. We don't hand out trust based on last names. Not anymore. Even Diana's name revered. Beloved couldn't outweigh the demand for transparency and result. Can Harry bounce back? Maybe. He could rework the proposal, bring in experts, rebuild Archwell from the ground up. But one thing's certain, the days of automatic trust are over. From now on, every step he takes must be earned, not inherited. This shift in perception, it changes everything. Because in the arena of international goodwill, moments like this aren't just awkward headlines, they're verdicts, quiet but lasting. And the isolation didn't end with Angola's decision. What made the whole thing even more glaring was who wasn't there. In the past, the UK's Foreign Office would have at least softly backed a royal humanitarian mission of this scale. But this time, silence. No support, no presence, no signal that Harry was operating on behalf of Britain. He wasn't a royal envoy, not a diplomat, not a government-backed figure. He was a private citizen, proposing a private deal asking for public funds. And that detail did not go unnoticed. In fact, behind closed doors, other candidates were already being discussed to lead Angola's mind-clearing partnerships. Names with real field experience, scientists, humanitarians, African community leaders with decades of results behind them. So when Harry's proposal landed on the table, it looked rushed, out of touch, and frankly, unnecessary. Even the optics were telling. There was no grand welcome at the airport, no cabinet officials, no press, just a quiet escort from a junior cultural officer. To outsiders, it might seem like a minor protocol slip, but in diplomacy, that was a statement. Angola was saying loud and clear this visit wasn't official. And maybe it wasn't even welcome. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is this just a temporary setback for Harry or the start of something deeper? And if you want more royal deep dives, hit subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next.